Hey, what's up you guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at Solar Hunters. This build focuses on Tripmine grenades, and it's quite explosive. This build is actually so strong that it literally feels like the immensely popular Solar Warlock Starfire Protocol build, except for Hunters. Okay, for your super, you're going to want Blade Barrage. This is one of the highest DPS supers in the game. For your dodge, you're going to need Gambler's Dodge. This dodge is going to refund your entire melee when you use it when you're near targets. For your melee, you're going to want Knife Trick. This melee will create a fan of 3 flaming knives that will scorch targets. And lastly, for your grenade, you're going to need the Tripmine grenade. This grenade is explosive and sticks to surfaces, and whenever targets come within the vicinity of this grenade, it will explode and scorch those targets. For your first aspect, you're going to need Gunpowder Gamble. This is a great aspect. This aspect is going to create a solar explosive whenever you defeat targets with solar abilities, solar debuffs, or solar weapons. Now, you can also manually detonate this by shooting it. For your second aspect, you're going to need Knock 'em Down. This aspect primarily is going to enhance the potency of your solar supers. Now we're going to be using Blade Barrage, so in this case it's going to launch more projectiles, which means more total super damage. The secondary part of this aspect doesn't really matter. For your fragments, first one you're going to need is Ember of Searing. This will give you melee energy when you defeat scorched targets, and it will also create a fire spray. Fire sprays will grant you grenade energy when picked up. For your second fragment, you're going to want Ember of Blistering. This will give you grenade energy when you kill targets with solar ignitions. Now this is a great fragment paired with this build because it actually works with Gunpowder Gamble. So when you get kills with your Gunpowder Gamble aspect, it's actually going to give you some Tripmine grenade energy, which is nice. For the third fragment, you're going to want Ember of Singeing. This fragment will increase your dodge regen whenever you're scorching targets. Now, if you want some extra survivability, you can actually swap Knock 'em Down for On Your Mark. This will free up 1 fragment slot, and you can put on Ember Resolve. This fragment is going to heal you when you get kills with your Tripmine grenades. Now, you will lose some super damage, but you will gain some survivability. So it's kind of like a trade-off. You can't go wrong with either one of these two aspects. It really is just about personal preference. Okay, for weapons, there's one weapon in particular that synergizes very well with this build, and that is the exotic heavy grenade launcher Parasite. Parasite's exotic perk is Worm's Hunger. This weapon fires hive worms, which explode on impact. The size and damage of the explosion scales with the number of enemies you defeated just before firing this weapon. So whenever you get a kill with your solar abilities or your weapons, it's going to give you stacks of Worm's Hunger. Now, the more stacks of Worm's Hunger that you have before you fire this weapon, that is the more damage that the worm will deal and the bigger the blast radius. Worm's Hunger stacks up to 20 times. For the secondary perk, it has Worm Byproduct. Taking damage from your own worm projectile detonation will empower your weapons for a short time. This can be achieved by shooting your feet. Alright, so for your energy weapon, you're going to need any incandescent solar weapon. It doesn't matter what weapon it is, as long as it has incandescent, you're good. Incandescent is going to scorch nearby targets whenever you defeat an enemy, and powerful combatants will create a larger scorch radius. This is really nice with this build because with incandescent, it's going to synergize with the Ember of Searing and the Ember of Singeing fragments. Now, if you chain incandescent enough times rapidly, it's actually going to create a solar ignition too as well, which is pretty nice. And for your kinetic weapon, it's up to you. It doesn't really matter. I like the Riptide Stasis Fusion Rifle because it can slow and freeze targets, and it also deals some nice burst DPS. For the artifact, there are 3 mods that are beneficial for this build. The first one being Authorized Mods Solar. This is going to reduce the armor energy cost of all mods pertaining to solar. The second one is Authorized Mods Grenades. This will reduce the cost of any mods affecting your grenades. And lastly, the third mod is Solar Surge. This will give you an armor charge whenever you pick up fire sprites. Now, you don't need these artifact mods. They're just a little bit of an enhancement for the build. So if you're watching this video after Season 20, do not worry. This build is still viable. Okay, now we're going to move on to the armor. So for armor stats, the two main stats you're going to need are resilience and discipline. However, mobility is also nice because this will reduce the cooldown of your dodge. For your helmet, the first mod you're going to need is Access to Assets. This will give you super energy when you get grenade kills. Now this is great because this actually works with the Gunpowder Gamble aspect too. So when you get kills with Gunpowder Gamble or your Tripmine grenades, that will give you super energy. And for the second mod, you're going to need Heavy Ammo Finder. This will increase the drop chance of heavy ammo for your Parasite grenade launcher when you get kills. For your arms, you're going to need the exotic Gauntlets, the young Ahamkara spine. This is one of the best hunter exotics in the game right now. This exotic's perk is Wish Dragon Teeth. Increases Tripmine grenade duration and blast radius. Ability damage will grant Tripmine grenade energy. Now the increased grenade duration doesn't really matter, but the increased blast radius is actually very substantial and noticeable because the increased blast radius will turn your Tripmine grenades into nukes. It is very good. And whenever you cause damage with your melee, it will also give you Tripmine grenade energy back. Now for armor mods, first mod you're going to need is Firepower. This will create orbs of power when you get kills with your Tripmine grenades or your Gunpowder Gamble kills too as well. Second mod you're going to want is Impact Induction. This will reduce your grenade cooldown when you cause damage with your melee. And lastly, you're going to need Bolstering Detonation. This will give you class ability energy when you cause damage with your grenades. For your chest, first mod you're going to need is Solar Reserves. This is so that you can hold more Parasite ammo. And for the second mod, you're going to want Charged Up. This will increase the maximum amount of armor charges that you can carry at any given time. For your boots, first mod you're going to need is Solar Weapon Surge. This will give your solar weapons a damage buff while you have armor charges. For the second mod, you're going to need Solar Scavenger. This is so that Parasite can receive more ammo whenever you find ammo for it. And for the last mod, you're going to need Absolution. This will reduce all of your ability cooldowns whenever you pick up Orbs of Power. And lastly, for your cloak, first mod you're going to want is Bomber. This will reduce your grenade cooldown when using your dodge. And for the last mod on your cloak, you're going to need Time Dilation. This will increase the duration of your decaying armor charges. Alright, that's it for the build, you guys. Drop a like on this video if you like this build, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Have fun blowing enemies up. This build is great. Now I'm going to show you guys some gameplay, and I'll see you guys later. Okay, for the gameplay segment, I will be trying something a bit different from usual. I'm actually going to be comparing this incredible Tripmine grenade build to the famous Starfire Protocol Warlock build that we all know and love, so you guys can see how they fare against each other. But just to keep it fair, I will be applying the same 4 fragments that I mentioned earlier to my Starfire Protocol build, and I will also preview the Starfire build prior to the gameplay, just in case you're wondering what it looks like. Moving on to my Starfire Protocol Warlock build I will be using in the gameplay comparison, and the subclass, the 2 aspects I will be using are Touch of Flame and Icarus Dash. And for the 4 fragments, like I said, they will be exactly the same as the Tripmine grenade build. So Ember of Resolve, Ember of Singeing, Ember of Searing, and Ember of Blistering. Okay, for the armor preview, here is what my armor looks like. And lastly, for the weapons, here is what the weapons look like. That's it for the preview. Now here is the gameplay. Alright, as you all have seen from that build comparison gameplay, this explosive young Ahamkara spine Tripmine build does in fact compete with the insanely powerful Starfire protocol Warlock build that everyone's using right now, which is pretty impressive. Obviously, Starfire Protocol is a little bit stronger overall, but just the fact that this Hunter Tripmine build even managed to stand against the Starfire Protocol build just goes to show how effective this build really is. Anyways, thanks for watching, and until next time.